take a 2-0 or 2-1, but no real focus towards the bottom side of the map here for Fredit Brion in bans outside of the Thresh. And the first teams that, the first team to have Thresh consistently banned against it was Nongshim. Now it's kind of a mainstay ban, actually, in the LCK, as Duckdom and Kellen played a lot of Thresh early on and popularized it again, especially the Aphelios
So
Thresh.
good.
Yeah. Olaf picked up here early for Umpty. It's kind of an, Olaf, or rather an Umpty special. And an early Victor here, too. This is kind of massive priority into two champions that are very separate from each other in terms of what their roles are, right? Olaf, a very strong front line, but doesn't scale very well towards the late game if he's behind, whereas Victor is a very safe scaling champion. So not a whole lot of hints just yet as to how their composition is going to work, but you do have a strong front line and consistent damage. That much we know for sure.
What are we going to see here? Maybe Alistar Tristana if you want to get ahead of any potential Kai'Sa pick? Or do you just not pick your AD carry? I thought they would actually go straight for Duckdom's pick, try to get him the best thing possible, but that is not going to be the case, especially because it's Rich in the top lane, and he's, very much hones in on only a couple of picks, Aatrox being one of them.
Yeah, I wonder if the Alistar priority here means that they have a Tristana counter pick prepared that we haven't seen yet. Because if you take the Alistar early, you're weakening the Rel pick. And my first thought was, okay, well, Ezreal is a strong option here. It's banned away immediately. And the other champion you think of when you think of Duckdom, in this situation, is potentially going to be the Xayah here, but not very strong into the Tristana. They take away the Samira. And that's been something that works very well, again, with the early Aatrox pick that they have here. The Aatrox works decently well with Udyr in a matchup where you know that it's going to be powerful. Like when you don't know what the enemy top lane is, which appears to be Gragas here. It's very risky to pick this Aatrox early. And it's Jinx actually that we'll get here.
He slammed that Jinx pick.
Yeah.
He was hovering it, waiting for his chance, and he picked it as quick as he possibly could.
It's kind of risky though with the Alistar here. Especially with Gragas, potentially as a support. It's going to be the Leona, though, which makes it, I feel, even more dangerous. On the bottom side, your positioning has to be really good if you're Duckdom. Well, we know that Duckdom is insanely good at laning, Second highest duo kills, as you mentioned in those stats we saw earlier. And that's where, Duckdom's bread is buttered, is in the lane. Getting those early kills, then leading that into turret plates in the bottom lane, and then sometimes even turret plates in the top lane. So if he can get ahead early, this will work, but it's a tough matchup with the Alistar here. If you had something like a Thresh, you feel a lot more comfortable with this. They have a lot of ability to control the early game with this Aatrox this year, around those first few skirmishes. Fredit Brion, on the other hand, a comp that scales very well. It's a very safe front line with, the Olaf and the Leona, not to mention the Gragas that will probably end up building very tanky here. Very straight up front-to-back team fight. This is the kind of draft from Fredit Brion where you go, wow, looks like they just want to play a straight-up game of League of Legends. No strings attached. Just want to try to play a most legitimate best of 3, see what they can learn at least, because there's nothing else you can get except dodging 10th place.
Yeah, definitely feels pretty similar when it comes to the comps, actually, which is pretty funny. Obviously, the big difference being in the top lane, whereas Hoya is kind of going to be that rock. Rich will be looking for a bit more, potentially in the laning phase. I wonder if he can ever get on top of Victor and Tristana. Victor will be a little bit easier. Tristana a little bit less
almost
so.
Impossible, right?
The peel, again, we kind of saw this in our first series where, Gragas can actually peel really nicely if you get really tanky from Doran. And, we'll have to wait and see what Rich can do on that Aatrox. That's kind of the question mark for me, especially when it comes to the team fights, as we are heading back onto the Rift here. Nongshim against Brew.
Valdez, the really interesting thing about how our playoffs shook out, that we've been talking about all week, and we did obviously a little bit last week too, is that some of these teams at the bottom of our standings are really similar to each other, and it was never really clear at the end of the season who was the stronger team, because some of those bottom teams had even taken games off of the top teams, right? Off of the West Side teams.
Yeah.
So there was this kind of confusion where power levels were suddenly changed, and it felt like it was really difficult to predict. And Fredit Brion was one of those teams we expected to actually have that 10th place badge based on the early parts of round 1, but that changed very quickly in round 2. It might still wear it because of those early blemishes, but this draft from Nongshim, what's really interesting about it to me is it's not a draft that says explicitly, we are the better mechanical team, we are the strongest team, we could play standard and beat you. It's a draft that's almost scared. It's taking a lot of risks. It's, you know, putting Rich's Aatrox on the table and saying, this is my champion pool, this is what I can play. Duckdom playing a kind of unusual Jinx bot lane here as well because he wants to try to be the carry. Nongshim's draft does not instill confidence to me that they're walking into this series thinking this should be an easy win. We're going to grab that playoff spot. This is a draft that speaks to me as going, okay, you better not mess this up, and we're going to play champions that suit our strengths as best as possible and try to get ahead, whether it's meta or not. And like these are all meta champions, but you know what I mean. The way this draft works together feels very Nongshim. Does not feel like a I crush Fredit Brion best of 3 standard as possible.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Duckdom can get going on this Jinx. Obviously, with no Thresh for the repositioning. If you get behind, Gragas, Olaf, Leona can be a real issue, right? You'll note that he did take Cleanse. Definitely a good start. You want to be able to actually maneuver and cleanse Flash, potentially, if you get locked down by a Solar Flare or any of that fun CC that is on the side of Bro.
And by when he says fun, he means not fun.
Yeah.
Just
well, it's fun for Bro. I mean,
yeah. I mean, you just make that fun, very clear for the fans at home. You know, he's does not enjoy it.
Duckdom will not have fun. That's the thing.
I mean, he'll have fun one time with that cleanse. If it comes to that.
You can build a QSS too.
Yeah.
Get 2.
I think he probably will later on because of how these comps work.
If he gets very fed, wouldn't be surprised to see it like item after his 3rd major item.
Yeah. In this game too, the the early lane is going in favor of Nongshim. They pushed first, they got level 2, and they've harassed very efficiently. There's a lot of sustain here. So it has been a very good start here for Nongshim, the bottom side of the map, which is what you need, is what you expect. The back timing here for Umpty means that he's going to have a little bit of a advantage in terms of that itemization, but it's double scuttle for Peanut as a result.
Well, potentially. I mean, with the priority in the bot side, it's definitely going to help out, but you mentioned the items, right? So if this ends up being a 1v1...
I think Bae prevents that from happening, but Peanut actually didn't have stun to take those shields first.
No smite for Peanut. I mean, Umpty can just run up to this and take this, and he will. Bae is not in a position to really do anything.
But why was he trading with Lava when there was a scuttle right there that was insane value? I'm a little bit surprised by that choice. Maybe he's afraid that Umpty gets on top of him and kills him at this early stage of the game, but that was a bit puzzling because he was actually poking Lava there, Bae was, instead of actually
push him out of the lane, you know, make sure that Lava can't ever get nearby to the fight. But you're definitely right. If you can force a 2v1 against Umpty rather, you're going to be able to push him away even if he does have smite potentially.
Yeah, ended up being good for Umpty to make sure he denies a double scuttle. And, you know, life goes on. It's not the craziest moment in this game or anything like that, but it was the most intense thing that's happened so far.
Yeah, and you know, you were talking about what this means for both teams, right? Like Fredit Brion, they're just kind of playing to avoid 10th, right? It's not the biggest deal. They'll play for their pride. They're not going to not try, obviously. Sure. But definitely a lot more pressure on Nongshim, and sometimes, you know, we've seen a lot of reactions to pressure. One of the reactions is also to be very not proactive. You sit back and you're like, I'm going to make 0 mistakes, which also can mean it has kind of the side effect of, well, you're just not going to do anything, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of glad that they drafted Jinx Azir, right? If you're not doing anything and you make it to 30 minutes and you have this, it's like, well, that's pretty good. It's definitely good to have in the later stages of the game.
Bae is landing very well. You know, in this matchup, you're going to have a lot of advantages early on, but he is pushing the envelope a little bit here in terms of what he can do. Gonna force this wave to crash into the turret. In terms of the early Drake priority between Umpty's Olaf and Peanut's Udyr is both of these champions are great at actually sneaking away, but because they're both on the Rift at the same time, you can't really try to make that happen without some sort of extra priority or edge in your lanes. And we can see that vision control is already being kind of put out here by the Jinx. You can see Duck Dom goes over there, but also Delight is coming here mid, and they really want to push this away. Peanut,
this is
here.
Really crazy fight over this Scuttle Crab at this point in time. It's level 6 to 5 in terms of the junglers. But as you mentioned, all the support's coming up here, and we have, okay, a forced fight trying to get on top of Rich. He will try to flash away. In goes Kellen, trying to create a ruckus on the backside. Gets a nice 3-man knockup, and that is a huge sweep coming in from the side of Bay. And nobody on the side of Bro is able to get even a single kill.
They're not even anywhere close, you know, they're not able to get in there and do that damage. The Emperor's Divide not only, you know, getting that knock up there, but also, you know, preventing any rotations in. If you're Lava there, you're going to be in such a vulnerable spot if you actually commit in and try to poke over that wall. Very well handled here from Nongshim, and hitting that level 6 power spike from Bay at the exact right time to take this fight. And it's massive that it's Umpty who dies, because this means Peanut could actually take control of the river as well, or rather take control of those Raptors, and then continue to control Vision and River. And uh-oh, Lava, where are you right now?
Yeah, this is not the best spot. Thankfully, there's no Emperor's Divide, but he's actually looking to turn it around. Still has his flash, keep in mind, so he knew he was totally safe after Bay had used all of his cooldowns. Knowing that the Emperor's Divide is not available certainly helps, so he's at least able to stand his ground.
Yeah, it's very scary sometimes with the Nudir nearby. If you flash, gets that second bear slap on you. Kellen, Heck Flash, not going to quite connect there. You know, this is a really nice start for Nongshim, though. It's not enough to get them a Drake, but they have really secured vision on the top side of the map. I'm going to watch this one more time. Choke points like this are where, you know, Emperor's Divide is going to be at its peak. And you can see Delight actually flashes through, gets his Zenith Blade, Rich gets out. But look at where all of Fredit Brion are. They're cut in half here. Emperor's Divide actually pushes most of the team away so that Bay does not get killed by that extra follow-up damage. So it was really, really cool to see, because, you know, almost intuitively it felt like he should pull them in, but he knew the damage was there to actually push them away instead.
Yeah, nearly died himself, but, you know, did the job. And it was funny because Umpty had his Ragnarok going, so he's the one person that didn't get pushed over, and it actually isolated him really cleanly. So
yeah,
it's going to be spotted, but there's nothing that Fredit Brion can do. That's just going to be a pretty free objective. The first Rift Herald going over to Peanut, and the first Dragon is still available. So certainly a lot of ways that Nongshim can take a big leap here in the early game.
Certainly true. As Rich is starting to come online here on the top side of the map, starting to be very annoying with his pickaxe. He's completed now. A lot of extra damage here on the Hoya. Minions getting involved. He'll pay for it with his life. And you know, you lose the Herald here as Fredit Brion, but you're not in a position to actually challenge for the Drake just yet. And they are like posing up around it, trying to get ready to stop any rotations in. They knew Alistair reset too, and it looked like they were maybe trying to catch him warding here. Because if you get that pick, then you probably can Drake, but
yeah,
fortunately they're not able to get it.
Yeah, he takes the very safe path down to the bottom side. Peanut was hanging around the top side, but he eventually did go back, and you can see he's running down to his Krugs.
And they know that they're there. They saw the timing of the ward being cleared, so that they have enough time to come over here. Well, do they? That's the question. Actually, the bot lane is going to push the turret instead. Looks like they're just going to give this up. Kellen and Duckdom just decide to hold bot, and they do not rotate in.
Yeah, with Udyr not there, they're going to try to force it. They can just give that one Mountain Drake over. That's just fine. We have the Infernal Drake next, which means it's either Cloud or Ocean that is coming in. That's a nice little interrupt there, but miss on the zap from Duckdom.
Still going to be a lot of push here onto this turret once again. 15 CS off already, Duckdom in this game. And given where we started and how this game has progressed so far, hasn't really been affected. This bottom lane hasn't been affected. This is just Duckdom, again, on Jinx, his laning prowess. And plays like this from Peanut allow him to get those turret plates, right? This is what Duckdom does. If they actually collapse in and go for a dive here and get a pick, you know, he gets a lot of value, but it's only 3v2. There's no minions anymore, so it doesn't end up working out to get a pick. But this is the kind of play that you do see from Nongshim so many times. around getting Doctom fed.
Yeah, no flash here for B. He's taking a little bit of damage, so it doesn't look like they want to try to combo onto Lava just yet. But you can see that Peanut's really looking for a lane to drop down the Rift Herald. Hasn't really had a chance to do that just yet. So just going to clear out first. And other than that one fight we had, it's kind of just been, we're hanging out, you know? Nongshim aren't really being super proactive, right? They're not reaching very far to take both early objectives or anything like that. They get that early lead, and they're just coasting, which I feel like is just fine, given their comp.
Yeah. I mean, Fredit Brion has their own scaling parts, but Nongshim are definitely in a position to where that's going to be a lot easier to scale with, minus the Aatrox, obviously, who we talked about. But he is doing just fine up here in the top lane for the moment.
Yeah. Rich is Aatrox.
It's rich. Just rich things. It's like we might see a force on the flash here. Peanut really wants this, but just going to have to be content with the Rift Herald drop instead of going in and grabbing Lava's flash, trying to get him with a bear slap, because it's just too risky. We don't have vision of exactly where Umpty is. He does now, but just a moment ago he did not, so not going to get too much crazy value. It's a pretty passive Rift Herald here. After, you know, he looked for several opportunities, including the bot lane, to get kills and the gold plates, the plate gold.
Yeah, I don't feel like Udyr uses the gold all that well. You know, I would love to have that on my Azir, but with Olaf not on the top side, and they have no vision on the bottom side of the map, he could have easily been there, and Bay just didn't want to take a chance, take too much damage, be forced to flash or anything, so didn't get in range of the plates. All of them go to Peanut, and Lava's going to take the large Raptor. It's kind of the most action we have in this game at the moment.
Yeah. You can see that Nongshim are trying to use their lane priority in top to rob some of this jungle away. They have a ton of vision control on the bottom side of the map. And it's a very, you know, cut and dry, basic start to the game here for Nongshim. The one decision they really had to make was to not contest the Drake, which they did not, because as you mentioned, Peanut wasn't close enough, but it's been simple otherwise. Here we go.
All right, looking for the proactive play this time around. He flashes over the choppers. Kellen's actually taking a lot of damage from that turret. It takes them so long to kill that guy. And at the end of the day, Hoya tries to be the savior, but actually he just gives another kill to Duckdom. And that will be a successful dive here to Nongshim. Duckdom with both the summoners available. Umpty can't do anything.
And he grabs a plate, too. You know, I mean, this is the kind of play that Nongshim are utilizing really commonly here in the LCK to get Duckdom ahead. Like I've said, you know, many times in this cast. And the first time they are not confident to pull it off with the Rift Herald, but the second time it's well executed. And the funny thing about this too is they know he's here. It's just so difficult to stop. The teleport coming through here to make sure you can guarantee the kill is kind of ironic and sad, because Kellen actually gets turret aggro first, so he does go down. It's a really nice cask attempt by Hoya, but once again, Bay is the savior. Really nice Emperor's Divide. He's had 2 very good ones in this game already. 4 assists. He's 100% kill participation in both of these skirmishes.
Yeah, he's having a great game. That's definitely what you like to see. He could potentially be fighting against Chovy in their next match. So
yeah.
You definitely want to see Bay at least playing better than he has been for the majority of spring.
Bay is also a fine laner. You know, we criticize Bay a lot. I think his laning phase is generally pretty decent. It's his teleport timings and his macro awareness. Sometimes that's the issue. But in this game, both major fights, he was exactly where he needed to be when he needed to be there. And to see him actually succeeding and excelling in that aspect of the game is the most exciting, because it means he's improved in his learning. That's what I always like to see from players who have had a few ups and downs this season.
Yeah. Second Rift Herald is coming on in here. Peanut's going to plop that one down. They can use that to go ahead and take the Infernal Drake for free. And when you have Jinx and Azir, even with 1 Infernal Drake, you're loving your life. At even 25 minutes, all of that percentage enhancement that you're getting from that objective is so nice. And at this point, there's not really much that Bro can do to stop this, just because you know, they're pretty pushed in the bottom lane, in the mid lane as well. So you have no prio over this objective, and that one will go over to Nongshim.
Not to mention all these wards who have been sitting here forever. I said who as if wards are living, breathing things, but
They are. That's why we give them names.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's what was in my brain when I said who, right? Because they've been here for so long that they feel named. But they've had these wards for so long, and they've had so much coverage of the river because of the priority they've had in the bottom lane, and and a lot of it comes back to that gank, on the bottom side, or the dive, really more than a gank.
Yeah.
And now, Nongshim are winning in every lane. They have a massive gold lead. And the solo Mountain Drake, as you mentioned, is not going to be enough to where you look at the game and go, well, Fredit Brion, they gave up some other objectives, but they got this. I mean, 2 Rift Heralds worth of extra gold across the board here for Nongshim. It's starting to stack up. It's starting to be a big problem. And the fact that Bay has 4 of these assists means that he's got a lot of extra gold too. I'm worried about Fredit Brion's ability to fight over these upcoming objectives now, because it feels like Nongshim are really hitting all their spikes early.
Yeah. This is what we like to see from Nongshim, right? If we're going to have a team make their way into the playoffs, we want to kind of be instilled with some confidence, right? A lot of people were singing the praises of Nongshim going into their match against KT, and then they kind of flopped a little bit and lost that one, and we were like, well, if they're going to play like this, maybe they shouldn't be in playoffs. But if they can take a clean series here, 2-0, that would be definitely pretty nice going into playoffs and make us feel a bit better about their entry into this position, into the 6th place spot.
Octom on the bottom side of the map doing very well. Rich threatening a turret here. Looks like he's going to get it. And the whole map is really starting to be opened up here for Nongshim, which is when Aatrox is actually going to be at his scariest. He's got 3 assists, doesn't have any kills, but he's just free farming in the side lane now with no one to threaten him. There's no fear for him. He's been stealing camps. Now he's going to get the Krugs. And when he pushes the turret, when he's on that inner turret, he can actually start roaming around the map too. He's going to have teleport in a few seconds here, so Fredit Brion need to be careful about pushing the issue here too much.
Boy. Yeah, I mean, you can see that Umpty has to ghost away. I don't think that Nongshim are going to really push the issue, but we're still going to kick them out, essentially, and that's going to be a really nice gravity field.
Yeah.
Save Lava's life.
They did clear all the wards on the river and also in the brush there, so Rich didn't have a ward to teleport on anyways to try to force it even if they wanted to. But he does harass Lava in the mid lane, and now he's just going to go push Hoya out of the top side and catch that wave. Very much a... I feel like this game is so textbook from Nongshim, right?
Yeah.
And not in just the way of a textbook of like good League of Legends. I mean in Nongshim's way of being textbook. The passivity you talked about, the ability to control bottom lane, get turret plates, Rich's Aatrox. Yeah, he's not with a whopping 3 or 4 kills himself, but he's controlling the lane. He's stealing farm off the map. He's putting pressure in multiple side lanes. It's just what you like to see from Nongshim. This is a very Nongshim game.
Yeah. Peanut is kind of coasting here. Last I saw, he was about 2,000 gold ahead. So while I said that I would rather have that gold onto the Azir, when your Udyr's this far ahead, it's not just going to be a guy that runs around real fast. He can actually get some real damage down, especially from ahead, right? When you're looking for picks and stuff like that. So
yeah, when you're 2 levels up on an Olaf, you just feel like you could do anything.
Yeah.
And you basically can. You can clear wards wherever you want. You can force flashes because you're already scaled up just from your level scaling, your base stat scaling, and you have extra movement speed. Like he has the moon plate plus the chem tank very early on.
I guess we're just doing the Baron.
I don't know about this.
Well, if it goes unseen, it's fine. They could probably take it. But the second that Bro come in here and Hoya just decides to have a party, wants to get some vision down there, I suppose. And they'll just immediately back off. But it was a cute little play. Bro immediately sniffed it out, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, they were able to identify there's nobody on the lanes. Also, I think part of the reason why they were able to see this coming was because Henna was super far pushed on the bottom side, almost onto the inner turret. So the fact that no one was coming to deal with him was, I think, kind of tell enough for them to say, okay, this doesn't make any sense. And he does get a lot of extra farm, while Nongshim failed to get the Baron. And that is something that, you know, we've been talking about how ahead Nongshim are, but it's not like this is a free win from here or anything like that. The composition of Fredit Brion does scale very well. They do have really nice initiation with Hoya here. Nongshim do have to show respect in these 5v5 team fights. Speaking of which, could be our first of the game. Maybe.
Yeah. Jinx, surprisingly good if you run in a straight line at her. I think Hoya's going to have to find a different method to make that actually work.
Umti, look at how far behind he is. He's level 10. He's just getting chipped away so much early on in this fight.
Peanut can potentially just come on in here and steal it. He's got the much better smite. We'll see if he can get it done as, yep, it's just going to go straight into the pockets of him as a big sweep comes in. Finds Henna in the front line, but Bay is immediately going to go down. Maybe he went a little bit too deep himself as Delight survives for an incredibly long amount of time. But it just feels like Nongshim may be a little bit too far ahead for Bro to handle them in this team fight. And so, while it looked a little bit dicey there, Victor was getting some insane damage down. It's still a 1-for-1, and Nongshim got the Drake.
Nongshim got the Drake, and they're in a position to push advantages here. Like, they get a 1-for-1, but everyone on Fredit Brion has to back. Like, it's not a 1-for-1 where you can go, well, we'll walk away and re-engage. It's a 1-for-1 where Fredit Brion lose control over the map. I mean, look at the wards across the board. Even that deep ward below the inner turret in the top lane, that's very far forward, is going to give you a ton of extra information about when Fredit Brion are coming over here to check vision on Baron, for example. As we're going to watch this once again, as you point out, Bay has a really nice Emperor's Divide, but he goes very far forward. The Peanut's fight here, as you mentioned, is 2 levels up, so that helps. So he flashes forward, and then everybody turns on him. It's actually really well played by Fredit Brion, because that's a lot of the damage gone. You pick anybody else, and it's a different story. Rich had a really nice flash, too, to get out of harm's way, and then re-engage back into the fight when his shield popped. So he played that fight very, very well. He's got his Sterak's up now, so he's very difficult to kill in those extended skirmishes.
Okay, Fredit Brion really trying to push the issue onto this mid lane turret. Even going to use a teleport to make sure that they pick that one off. And they will get it. Bay was top. He had teleport, but he just decided, well, I'll just go ahead and push this. It's not the biggest deal in the world. That was going to go down eventually. And Nongshim's still about 5,000 gold ahead here, so still sitting pretty. They have that 1 Infernal Drake, which I mentioned is going to be really nice. And yeah, just going to continue getting Duck Dom farmed up here, essentially, is the main goal of this game for him.
Yeah, that's the whole MO for the composition of Nongshim. And Rich is at a state where he can threaten Hoya while also side laning. Hoya is not going to be able to comfortably deal with that pressure. In fact, I think Rich is just going to simply get this bot turret. There it goes. There's just no one who can deal with it. He's going to push the issue further all the way into that inner turret. And the setup here for Nongshim now is just based around threatening Baron, where you clear vision off, you leave Nongshim curious. Like, are they Baroning? Are they going to be able to take this? They have to rotate over. And in these moments, like when you have Baron vision advantage like this, you see where Fredit Brion are right now. In these moments, you know where Fredit Brion are. You can group up, you can get a safe back, go get items, because you know Fredit Brion can't rob you of anything in this moment. They can't actually sneak the Baron away from you because you have that extra control. And because Rich is over here on the side, pushing super hard, like, there's just nothing that Fredit Brion can do while you get a free reset. And these are just small things you can do. It's very Nongshim style, right? They're not going to try to force a fight or get a pick and then reset. They're just like, no, vision control, play it safe. And, you know, the way they played this comp kind of makes me feel like I want to take back what I said earlier when I said this draft makes me feel like they don't think they can just play a straight-up game, because the way they've played this comp could not be more straightforward.
Yep, pretty much, as Kellen is going to have to go unbreakable.
Ult for an ult here.
Yeah. Ragnar comes in. Rich has got a really nice flank angle, actually. They're looking to turn onto him, but he's so tanky at this point in time that they really just don't have the damage, and Hoya wasn't even here. That's just going to be 2 free kills now for Nongshim, as that should be Baron as well.
Yeah, definitely going to be Baron here. Rich doesn't have to teleport. It's just a really nice flank. Hoya didn't have teleport, so it took him a lot longer, because he had to clean up that bot lane before coming over. They also have that control ward next to the wolf pit, so I think that's where they spotted how far away Hoya was. And they just know this is a fight where Rich can flank without being under any threats, and his Sterak's is going to give him so much shielding and the healing on top of it. Nerfs on Sterak's, you know, we thought they might be changing very significantly the way a lot of these top laners are played, but champions like Aatrox, I mean, you can nerf the items, but just by the nature of how he plays the game, he's going to be very strong. You can see, if you look at the minimap, Hoya's rotation is very late, and he walks over that ward, so they know he's nowhere nearby. So Rich even like jumps forward, he eases in, he's ready, pops his ultimate here, and he can 1v3 because he has the Sterox shielding that comes through with it. Kellen comes up, they secure the kill very safe, and by the time the cask is there, it's too late.
Seems like there was some fighting here as we were in the replay. It doesn't look like it amounted to too much. Peanut has that Ocean Drake. You see he's healing up just a bit, whereas the Olaf has to go back. And with the Baron now, they're just going to be looking to push here. The Jinx, really nice for sieging. You can just hop forward, get that one down. You can see that Hoya, he knew the pattern, but he was not able to execute and pick off Duckdom, who immediately flashes away.
Yep, it was very well handled by Duckdom. Doesn't use his cleanse, just flashes to make sure he's guaranteed away from there because there's no follow-up.
Yep, his mechanics are really insane.
Yeah.
Like, he's the type of AD carry that you can trust to get really fed, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to feel bad about getting Duckdom fed. And he can make the flashy outplays as well. So definitely part of the reason why we rate this guy so highly.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that Duckdom is not getting the recognition he deserves, I feel. I mean, I think part of that is because Nongshim is a 6-11 team in the LCK, but Duckdom is an individual player. I mean, I think he can go with the best of the AD carries. I personally think he's like top 3 in terms of his laning, but mechanically he's very good. Kellen going in.
Yeah, here we go. The Ragnarok is popped as Rich. There are a lot of grievous wounds, but it doesn't seem to matter as he's just taking names. Peanut gonna finish that one off, and that's all the front line that Duckdom needed. That's a big task, and he will finally go down as Hoya able to at least get him back in there before he does go down. So
I don't know if we need to be diving the fountain before the Nexus turrets are dead.
A little bit
when the inhibitor's
there.
alive, you know, when playoffs are on the line, maybe a little bit more discipline would have been advised, but it looked cool, and it was still a positive trade for them. I don't think it's going to cost them the Drake because they just can clear this so quickly. Peanut's level 15. That smite is pretty fat. And we watch this again. Kellen decides to push the go button as Peanut is always threatening here on the side. And, you know, as soon as he hits it, he's like, Hoya, you are pushed away. Hoya can't get on top of Rich until the last possible second. In fact, he doesn't even get the chance to close that gap. It doesn't even matter. Then we go under Nexus turrets, and Duckdom is, you know, after we cast our curse on him, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm like, you can really depend on this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great cast, right? It was just perfectly placed. So we'll give that one to Hoya.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in terms of the best possible play you could have made in that scenario is you get the one pick, you regroup, and then you push 5v4. But they were all so low that, you know, you get a couple rockets down, then it's 5v2, and then you win the game.
Then you win the game, right? Yeah. And there's no consequences, as pointed out, because of the timing of this and because Peanut is so fed. Like, they just go, oh, okay, a little bit overextended. Let's go grab the Drake and call it a day. Rich has got the most experience in this game, as pointed out, because he's been able to side lane so much.
Close gold, too.
Yeah. He's had a very great game.
Absolutely has. And now here we go. I mean, there's no Baron buff anymore, but they still do have a couple of lanes pushing. The only thing is that Tristana, you know, level 15 at this point, has some really nice range. They actually do have some pretty great wave clear. It's not like S, but it's definitely like A+, right?
Yeah.
At least an A. And they're feeling pretty good, especially without facing Baron.
Hoya has no flash, so he's going to have to...
Oh, okay, Henna. All right.
Wow.
I like that. You got to make the plays if you're going to come back in this game.
Peanut's just trying to push these minions in to get a Nexus turret. I mean, they are still really poised to take this game because even though Bay goes super low and has to back, he has teleport. If they win a fight here, it's just over. And like, worst case scenario for Nongshim, they probably just get the last inhibitor. So you feel very confident to push these minions in if you're Peanut because you can escape from anything. and threaten the Nexus turrets. If they come over to deal with you, you get the top inhibitor. If they make a mistake and anybody dies, the game ends. It's just really careful and safe play from Nongshim here in the final moments.
Really like the spread, right? All 5 members kind of in a line. They send Duck Dom up to the top side. They can use his range to take out those last remaining buildings. That is a massive engage from Kellen. Should be the nail in the coffin as they take down that Olaf. Henna is the one guy that can maybe get this one going. Lava's still alive as well up there on the top side, but the engage is just too good. The Tristana is going to die, and that is going to be the end of game number 1. Nongshim, a very straightforward, clean game. As you can tell, they really want to hold on tight to that last playoff spot.
Very impressive. Very impressive plays here from Nongshim in this really